And it's insane because Wrath knows the story the whole time, but whatever the witches did during the curse prevented anyone that knows about it from telling the goddesses about it. Welcome back once again to a new book review. Now, the book we're going to be focusing on today is the third and final book, Kingdom of the Feared. Now, as I said, this is the final book in a trilogy, so if you do not want this and the previous books spoiled for you, go ahead and leave now, because trust me, I have a lot to talk about when it comes to this book, because oh my goodness, it made everything make so much more sense. And with that being said, let's get into my thoughts on this book, because I've already talked about the characters. They haven't changed. I thought that the first two books were okay. I wouldn't go out of my way to reread them, but I also wouldn't complain if I ended up rereading them. And that's because all through reading book 1 and book 2, there was just a bunch of stuff that didn't make sense. And I really disliked how Amelia, the main character, would make the dumbest decisions, such as poisoning Wrath and drugging him to sleep, when he was literally the only one of the 7 princes of hell on her side. Like, she could have drugged any of the other princes to stop them from stopping her going to investigate. But she drugs the one on her side, and I'm like, not only did you drug the only prince of hell on your side, but you literally drugged the king of wrath. Like, that's not gonna have any implications. Luckily for her, though, it doesn't. But there were actions that she does throughout book 1 and book 2 that make me want to, like, what are you doing? Grab her by the shoulders and shake her. But reading this book, it just folds everything nice and neatly together, and it's like, oh, that's why. And I cannot talk about my feelings on this book without spoiling it, because if I don't explain what happened in the book, what I'm saying isn't going to make any sense, because this book is a hell of a ride. No pun intended. But there is so much double crossing, so much deception, so many lies. It's insane. So it turns out that everything Amelia and Victoria thought they knew was a complete and utter lie. And you might be thinking, well, how is that? Was it all a dream? Was it all in their imagination? No, it really happened. But their grandmother, who had taught them only certain spells, like spelling their amulets that they had, which protected them from the wicked, or small spells like to keep away demons, and that was it. And you know, through these books, I'm like, if the characters are witches, and the grandma is the mentor, why has she taught them such little spells? Especially if she is so terrified that the wicked are going to come and take them away. But she doesn't. We find out through a series of unfortunate events that Amelia and Victoria's grandmother was not actually their grandmother, and on top of that, Victoria and Amelia weren't even actually witches. They were the goddess of death and the goddess of fury, respectively. And they ruled over the 8th house of hell. See what I mean? Like, there were hints that you could see through both the books. When you get the full perspective of the story, you're like, oh, now that makes sense. Now it makes sense. But the whole time that we think that Amelia and Wrath are investigating the murders of these women, none of that world was real. It was a place called the Shifting Isles in hell. They were in hell the entire time. They were never in Italy. They were always in hell, because the witches, being led by Amelia and Victoria's grandmother, spelled and sacrificed 2 different witches to put their mortal hearts into Amelia and Victoria and took their memories from them, all out of fear and vengeance. All of this deception, this double cross, making a whole illusion of Italy to trick these 2 goddesses into thinking they are mortal and they grew up human, was all because a witch was jealous and didn't like the fact that her daughter was in love with someone she didn't like. But it makes this whole entire series make so much more sense, because the whole time I'm just sitting there thinking, stuff is not adding up. And there were certain lines said throughout the book that came back in this one, like when Amelia discovers Wrath's true name being Samuel. Well, in either the first or the second book, she jokingly calls Wrath Samuel, and he kind of brushes it off and says, never call me that, don't call me that. And it's little things like that where you could say, oh, this was the plan all along. So we just didn't know it until we know it. But to have it be this weird, like, overprotective mom being like, I don't like who you're dating, I'm gonna curse everyone and kill 2 innocent witches to make sure that curse happens. And then create this whole illusion of the mortal world to make these 2 goddesses think that they're human and tell them to hate their home and hate the princes. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, you should give the Princess of Hell a chance. Nope. But in this book, it's like, hello, ding dong, I didn't know we could get even more evil than Satan himself, but you managed. I liked this book. I like this author. I like their writing style. I like how they had like little secret things woven throughout the entire bit. I like how they made Victoria seem like a villain at first, but then you slowly start to realize she's not a villain. She's just trying to right the wrong that the witches did. I'm not saying she went about it in the best way, because she didn't at all, but her motives weren't to hurt her sister, but to help her sister. And all the while, Wrath's just there through it, like, I love you, I'm gonna stick with you, we're gonna figure this out, even if your sister is crazy. And it's insane, because Wrath knows the story the whole time, but whatever the witches did during the curse prevented anyone that knows about it from telling the goddesses about it. Like, every time they tried to say things, they would trip up and not be able to. And there were plenty of moments like that through all of these books too, where one of the princes would be talking to Amelia, and then they'd start to say something, and then all of a sudden it was like they couldn't talk. Or they had to skirt around what they were saying, because the curse wouldn't let them tell them, because that would help break the spell lock that the witches put on the goddesses. But oh my goodness, it was so good. I can't tell you too much more than that, because there's a lot of intricate little details. You'd have to read the books yourself to fully understand, because so much happens in this book, yet it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel like, okay, where's this story going? Because it answers every question you've had during reading book 1 and 2. And now it makes me feel bad for giving the other books a 4 and 3 star, because now everything makes sense. But I'm not going to change my rating, because that was my honest opinion of the books after I finished them. So I'm going to leave them at the rating they are. And I did say in my rating of this one that it made all the other books make sense, and gave this one a 5 star. But I loved this book. But I think now I'm going to go into something a little easier, a little smaller, and a little more, lighthearted. And that's The Notebook. I did watch the movie. So this year I watched The Notebook for the first time ever. I know, how could I have waited this long to watch The Notebook? It was never my thing. I don't know when I'm gonna start it though. Things have been a little busy on my end lately, but I'm in no rush to finish this. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!